Hey, Mom said we might get some new furniture.
Yeah, I saw an awesome living room set last time.
Now, how do we convince Mom to do it?
Come on, guys, let's load up to go to Jim's Furniture.
Hi everyone, Jeff Cole here from McCurtainCountyView.com, and with me this evening are Sharon Hill Wooten of IDABEL High School and Jim Bynum, who is representing Oklahoma Education Association for the Southeast region. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming, Jim. Thank you. We're talking about State Question 744 today, and so we wanted to inform everyone.
You're not going to introduce me?
About, sorry. Everyone knows Suzanne, so anyway.
I'm the whole reason we got everybody here together, because I want to know more about 744. Okay, well, one of the first things, I think Sharon, you can help me out on the answer on this, but when we hear about more legislature, I'm thinking, well, what happened to the lottery money, and why haven't we seen any improvement with it?
And we're way below the national average. If we were to get to the regional average, we would have 9,633 per student.
Why are the opponents of 744, what is their justification? What are they claiming is the reason why a person would not support this?
Because the legislature overlooks billions of dollars every year in tax revenue. They allow companies and oil and gas companies, large corporations, to escape without paying taxes. They get tax credits. As a result, a lot of those companies will make handsome contributions to legislators, for their campaign. So it's kind of a cycle.
So is it possible that a large amount of the funding for this is coming from those companies that stand to lose their tax credits?
Yeah, so since 2004, corporations in Oklahoma...
I mean, funding for the opposition.
Right, that's where the money's coming from.
Yeah, okay.
But cut the income tax in the state of Oklahoma by $770 million. Well, that's a lot of money. You would have thought then your pockets just burst with revenue when that happened. You didn't notice it, did you? Because most of the money went to the top 2%. That put a big hole in the budget. 90% of the school budgets go into the classroom, so there's no doubt that this money is going to go to the classroom.
Okay. Now, opponents of this measure are saying that that there's no responsibility in it. There's no accountability in this. And
well, Section H of the ballot, if you read the entire thing, and you can go to the Secretary of State's webpage, or you can look on the OEA webpage or the Yes on 744 webpage, and see the exact language that says that the Office of Accountability will publish an annual report of every school district in the state and their expenditures, line item by line item, OCAST expenditures. Anyone can go see that. And I would encourage everyone in the state of Oklahoma to go to your school boards. Go to your school board meetings. Get involved in your schools. Get involved in your school boards. Because right there is the most powerful legislative body in the state of Oklahoma is the local school board. We can send $2 million to IDABEL, and the local school board determines how that money gets spent. So it's a local control issue. And that's why we didn't put any strings on it, because we have confidence in local school boards. And the citizens, they're definitely accountable to the citizens how they spend the money.
So their argument in that regard about accountability is they're afraid to put the steering wheel in the hand of the local school boards. Or maybe they're just making a blatant...
I can't speak to that other than they may not have read the entire ballot.
Perhaps that's where that's coming from.
Well, now my question about it, though, is if you're giving $2 million to the schools, is that for education only, or does that include sports, activities? What does that include?
It cannot be spent to retire bonds, cannot be spent for capital improvements, like you can't build a new football field. Okay. So the restrictions on it are such that it pretty much has to be spent for classroom instructional activities. And then you have a limit. You have a limit on the budget of what can be spent for administrative costs already. That's in the law. So that's pretty much set. And I know hundreds of school districts that say we have less than 10% of our revenue of discretionary money because it's already there. I mean, it's in teacher salaries, it's in support employees, it's in supplies and equipment and utilities, you know, all the things that you have to have if you're going to have school. Transportation, you know, gasoline, and those costs go up all the time. So,
But you're saying this money will not be used for those type of things?
it won't be used for capital improvements like building buildings or retiring bonds. Okay.
But it would be included in, let's say, operational costs?
Operational costs, yes, absolutely. Really a tough job. I can see why a lot of teachers, younger teachers nowadays, average about 5 years in the teaching profession and then they're out. Because it is a grueling pace. It's nothing like it used to be. Class sizes are bigger because of the cuts that we've had. There's testing every week. Right at the beginning of school, everybody's testing on reading levels and seeing how kids are going to get placed. If they're in, you know, tested at level or whatever, then they get to put them in this group, and then they have other tutors that come in and help some of the other kids that are struggling, which I'm all for that, but that costs money. And it's the same thing at the secondary level.
To me, it almost sounds like there's so much legislature to tell a teacher what to do, make sure the teachers, to tell them what to do, that they're not just letting them do what they need to do and get it done.
Absolutely.
And that's one reason why we have to, for instance, fund such programs as you're talking about. Remediation is funded through grants. You know, we have a grant writer who is constantly searching for new grants in order to bring these resources in. So, and you know, I know in IDABEL schools alone, we have our remediation program, intervention that we have every day after school, 4 days a week, but that was funded through a grant.
Number one.
Somebody said once, I don't remember where I heard this, but this person indicated that we are absolutely going to be forced to fund either public education or prisons. That if we don't put enough money into public education, we're going to be putting it into prisons. And I'm a big believer in that. And I think that prisons are the...
Well, prisons are big businesses also.
They're big business now too. So are they receiving some of these
Well, they get state
tax
appropriations,
credits?
but let me just say this. We're number one in the nation in incarceration of women. We're number 4 in incarceration of men. What does that say about...
And we're also 49th in the nation as far as funding education.
There's a direct correlation there. If you fund education, if you invest in education, you're not going to have that particular statistic to, you know, for the state to tout all the time. It's absurd, actually, to think that, well, you could save $100 million this next year if we could reduce the dropout rate of male students by 5% in the state of Oklahoma. That saves $100 million in crime-related expenses. I'm talking about most high school dropouts that are male go out and commit crimes. You know, they do. And $100 million is the estimated cost of what that costs. So just to reduce the dropout rate by 5%, that's pretty small. And it can be done with the resources that you need. You've got to have ways to keep these kids hooked up. You've got to have ways to keep them in school. They need